Hi there. Today we are making a vegan soup or stew with kimchi. Now this is based ever so loosely on kimchi jjigae, which is a Korean dish, but kimchi jjigae, which is usually translated as kimchi stew, is made with pork belly. And most of us don't have pork belly lying around, even if we are people who do eat pork. So I thought I would show you what I do when I want a lunch or an easy dinner, something fairly light, but if I feel like I'm coming down with something, or if the weather outside is crappy the way it is right now, it's wet and dark and a little bit cold, this is the kind of thing that I gravitate towards, and we usually have the ingredients around, so I wanted to show you how easy it is and how tasty it is, despite the fact it's made with almost nothing.
Kimchi convenience.
It is. So obviously you need to have kimchi in the house. And my very first, I think it was my first video was kimchi. So you can go back and have a look at that. If you're vegan, you can make kimchi. My recipe, just leave out the fish sauce, and it is a vegan recipe. There are plenty of other vegan kimchi recipes online that you can look for, or store-bought kimchi. You do you, okay? We're gonna start by putting a pan. Now I should say this feeds one person for a large bowl, or two people for a smaller bowl, say if you were using it to start dinner or something like that. I'm not even gonna put any oil in the pan. I'm going directly for, this is half a cup of kimchi, which for me was 132 grams. And you'll see there's liquid in there. And do make sure you have some of the liquid from the kimchi bottle or jar in with this. And pop it in the frying pan. That simple.
Saucepan, just to be pedantic.
Yes, quite right. Thank you for that correction, Rob. Quite right. Now my kimchi, this one I made with baby bok choy, and so the pieces are already fairly cut up. But kimchi, sometimes if you buy it in the store, is like the full piece of cabbage. Chop it first, because otherwise it's going to be a pain when you go to slurp it in a soup. So I'm just going to heat that up. And it's already smelling. I'm getting the lovely garlic and ginger and yummy kimchi-ness of it, the fermentedness.
Because on a day like this,
yeah,
that's kind of what you want.
Yeah, it is kind of what you want. This is a great recipe for using leftovers. The last time I made it, we had some zucchini, sautéed zucchini coins, rounds, in the fridge, and I popped those in towards the end, just enough to heat them through. That was perfect. Today I'm going to throw some raw spinach in. If you have leftover veggies that sound like they'd be good in a kimchi soup, throw them in there. Why not? It adds a lot, and it certainly makes it that much better for you. The other thing I was going to say, I don't have right now, but we often have leftover rice, brown rice, white rice, whatever, or noodles in the fridge. And those can go in, and that will provide a certain amount of heft to your soup and make it more substantial. This is the light version because we don't have any leftover rice right now. So you can see this is bubbling up here. And I'm just going to add, this is water, and I'm doing the most basic version here to show you that you can in fact make this with just water. Now if you have vegetable stock, if you're vegan or vegetarian, if you have chicken stock, pork stock, beef stock, if you're not,
Stock of any description.
that would bring even more flavor to this. But seriously, you can make this recipe with water.
It's really
crazy, right? So that's the main reason that I'm showing you with water, is because I think you need to know that this can be just, I wouldn't say just as good, but it still has lots of flavor and would make a great lunch.
And very good for you.
And very good for you. So as the water is heating up in there, I am going to put in, this is a tablespoon of gochujang, which is Korean chili paste. Now it's not just chilies. In the kimchi recipe, I showed you gochujang, which is the chili flakes themselves, which is dried chili. This actually has a fermented soybean in it. It also often has sugar in it. It depends which gochujang you buy. So it's a little bit sweet, and it's spicy, and it's got that fermented umami kind of flavor. Now a tablespoon is quite a bit. I like spicy food. When I put this in, this makes this soup, it has a kick. This is not for the faint of heart. So if you don't like chilies that much,
Try a little first.
you could do a teaspoon of this instead of a tablespoon, and then you could do maybe a teaspoon of miso. If you don't like chilies really at all, well, I'd question why you had kimchi in the house, but my kimchi is actually pretty mild. And so if you do have some mild kimchi in the house and you don't want any more chili heat than that, just add some miso instead, okay? Because miso still gives it that umami fermented bean thing, and a bit of sweetness as well. So I'm just gonna add that. Woo, shouldn't have left the spatula in there because that thing's hot. Just gonna add that in. And you can buy gochujang at any Korean store, probably. You might be able to get it at some of the Pan-Asian stores.
Osaka has it.
But
for sure.
sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't. Whereas if you go to a Korean grocery, it will be there. It is a staple. It's super important in the Korean diet. So all I'm doing is making sure that gochujang gets dissolved into the water. And already you see it has a bit more body and looks more like a soup than just like kimchi floating around.
It's like the restaurant already.
And it smells good too. So now that that's dissolved in there, the next thing I'm going to put in is tofu. Now in this case, this is extra firm tofu, but this could be medium tofu, it could be firm tofu, it could be smoked tofu, it could be whatever kind of tofu you happen to have in your house. Now if you have the super soft stuff, I would wait till the very, very end to put it in because the soft stuff might fall apart. As you can see, this, because it's extra firm, cubes really easily and it will totally hold its shape.
Now, do you blanch it first?
I don't, and I don't need, this is like easy. Could you blanch it? Sure you could. You don't need to. It's not marinated in anything. You know why? Because this has so much flavor that the tofu absorbs some of that and it doesn't need any kind of marinade or flavoring. So I'm just gonna pop that in. And all we're doing, I think this whole time we're on medium high. Once the tofu is warm, we're going to throw in the spinach. This is also where I would add your cooked rice or noodles. Do not add raw noodles at this point or raw rice because you don't want to overcook everything else trying to get the rice or noodles cooked. This is where you can add leftover veggies, all of that. So I'm going to just throw the spinach in and it needs almost no time to just wilt. I had an escapee.
Run away! That's awesome.
It is. And I'm going to turn that off. Now this is a fairly big bowl. Like I said, this makes one large bowl for someone or two smaller if you're using it like to start a meal. So that's what comes out or whatever leftovers you had in there. Then you want to top it with something. So what I like is I start with a little sesame oil because sesame oil, just a little bit, has so much flavor. You could also add sesame seeds here if you wanted to. Green onions, scallions, because why not?
Always a good idea.
That adds lots of flavor as well. Now I didn't add garlic or ginger in this because the kimchi already had garlic and ginger. So you're getting in here, you're getting the goodness of the fermented products, both the bean paste and the kimchi are both fermented. Now some of that you kill some of the probiotics by heating it, oh well. But you also have the goodness of the tofu, you have garlic, chilies, and onions, and ginger, and all those things that when it's crappy outside, or if you're not feeling well, like you're coming down with a bug of some sort, this is an amazing way to sort of at least make you feel like you're doing something. This is toasted nori seaweed, which just adds that little extra thing, plus all the minerals and stuff, and it's good for you. So, there you go. That is your vegan kimchi soup or stew. And that should make you feel better. I don't guarantee any kind of cures, but it's gonna feel good going down. So I hope you enjoyed that. See how easy it is to make, and you probably have most of it in your house.